Warzone has been keeping some of the best modes in the game behind the limited time mode wall. This is just my opinion, and I know a lot of people really like the regular game and would even like to see it go more competitive, as we've seen some of the other games like PUBG, Fortnite having its ranked mode, Apex Legends as well, focusing down that route. But they haven't. They've got this core game mode that's extremely solid. The overall flow, the pacing, I've talked about it in many of my commentaries before, including my Warzone meta video where I talk about the entire strategy of the game, and it's very full and fast-paced the whole way through. It's a great game in general, but the way they've incorporated the limited time modes has made it really feel for me a lot more like the custom games and some of those private matches that I get into with friends where we do some crazy rules, something I've done historically in regular Call of Duty multiplayer, even back in the day in Halo, more recently with PUBG and some of the customs that they had available for us in those custom lobbies that we could create. Doing 50v50, zombies, racing in PUBG. But they're creating it as a specific playlist so everybody can queue into it, and it's really not an isolated incident of these custom games. Everybody gets to get involved, which is what allows it to scale at a much bigger pace than what was really even capable for us when we tried to play PUBG. A really hard thing in that game in general too is that it's already so divided with first person, third person, all the different maps, and because there was no crossplay, so it was specific to platform, they couldn't really incorporate some of the custom games that I think that they were trying to do and wanted to do. Personally, it's one of my favorite aspects of the game in general. And even though it hasn't come to specific custom lobbies that, we could bring all the community into, which I would love to see, by the way, it still works out so incredibly well. And that's why I say, these limited time modes have been some of the most fun that I've had in the game in general. The Stimulus, now known as Buyback Solos, Juggernaut mode, even the Shoddy Snipes, if you played that was the first one they really tested. They added a realism mode, which unfortunately I really wanted to play but didn't get a chance to because that's when I had my baby. A little preoccupied with that and still trying to get a good lockdown on my schedule. But I feel like overall, the limited time modes have been some of the most fun that I've had in the game, and it's been a huge win for the game in general. It's really helped with keeping the game fresh as well, in between the periods of them changing out the gun's floor loot, shifting up the gun balance, which is a whole nother commentary I'm planning on. What are some of the things that they really need to fix in the game? Big part of that being a lot of the bugs that were introduced into this new season. But I want to keep this commentary more focused on these modes and where at least I'm hoping it continues to go. I think I was watching a stream or some commentary, I can't remember where it was from, but it was a great discussion that I heard it, and I really felt like it had a lot of accuracy to it. How once they added lobby games into Fortnite and some of these other battle royales, a lot of things really started to go downhill for the long term of the game. Everything became way more sweaty and a lot less focused on getting those really high kill games. Fortnite competition started as pub stomping, which is what we're also seeing in the Call of Duty scene. Players go in and essentially go into public games as other casual players would play the game, but outperforming them greatly and seeing who can get the highest kills, who can get the most wins within these period of times. Rather than putting all 150 players being extremely sweaty, trying their heart out, playing their heart out, you've got a couple other people that are good in the lobby and then a whole bunch of other general players as well that are all casual, just like you're playing any other game or anybody else queues in and plays any other game. You're playing regular pub matches and pub stomping or killing everybody in them rather than fighting a whole bunch of other professional players. And like I said at the beginning, I do think there is a large group of people that would be really down for a ranked game where everybody was of the same skill level, all in a highly competitive match. It definitely would make you play different. It would make you learn much faster. You become a much better player, but that's also a different game. It loses all of the casual element to it. You can argue with the skill-based matchmaking in the game as well. Some of that already gets lost. I know when Apex Legends came out with their legitimate ranked mode, I was really excited for it. I thought it was a bunch of fun because now you're really putting in lobbies with people of legitimately the same skilled rank. And it was a lot of fun to work through that first season, hit Apex Predator, especially at some of those higher tiers. Those lobbies became far more difficult. And especially at the very beginning when everybody was sweating their ass off, even at lower tiers, it was a totally different playstyle you had to implement. After that, though, I really realized, at least for me, that wasn't the type of competitions that I really wanted to get into. I tried the same thing with Siege, and personally, I just really enjoyed trying out different weapons, trying out different strategies, throwing a game or two, trying some risky plays to get some fun content or something crazy. That didn't really facilitate as well in the rank lobby because I also wasn't better than everybody at the high ranked. I practice, I learn at a casual level, I'm above average. I can compete and perform well in those casual lobbies, but as soon as it gets to the top tier, I'm not the top of the top tier. And on top of that, especially when playing in Apex, it seemed like even when I was playing in lower tiers, it was still putting me in with the very top tier, I think because of lack of a player count, at least on PC. Now, I know the overall player pool does get better over time, so it's going to get harder no matter what, even if there is no competitive mode in it, right? But I do think that accelerates it quite a bit, and it was around the time when Ranked came out when I fell off of Apex as well. Personally, I still absolutely love the game, and it's a blast whenever I go back to play it, but I think for me more so, it was just other new games that were really exciting and enticing that I've been wanting to play instead. Regardless, a lot of other people are too, and why I feel like the limited time modes have been so well received. It's really a bigger focus on the fun, and again, because it's not in this private lobby that even gives people the option to get incredibly crazy with every player being insane, it allows it to keep some more of that element to it. It's too why a lot of people have been asking, well, why aren't you playing Tarkov? Why haven't you gone and played all these other new games? Call of Duty overall has been doing a fantastic job in keeping the game really interesting for me. There's so many different guns, play styles you can incorporate with that, and then these limited time modes that get dropped in. Even the fact that they started the game by only having trios, then introducing solos, duos, quads. Each of those feels very different when you're playing the game. The dynamic changes. Even who I'm playing with affects how I play the game and the different styles that I implement. And even on the competitive side of this, I've had the chance to play in 2 competitions, both of which were 3-hour periods, play as many games as you want. The best 5 games in terms of kills and placement is how the score is totaled, and that's how you're placed. I thoroughly enjoyed that experience in every single one of those games, pushing, playing more aggressively to what my normal strategy was, what I had already developed a skill set for, and knowing that they were regular games, knowing that it was the experience that I was used to having, felt really good. Again, this is my personal opinion, but I've competed in PUBG. I've competed in even Fortnite. Of course, those were more invitationals and charity events, but still, they were all against really competitive players. And in those scenes, it was far more difficult to really even do anything. The strategy that we implemented when we played PUBG was all 4 of us going to different corners of the map and hiding, crawling our way to the final zone because we were going up against a bunch of pros, at least for a couple of the games. On top of that, there's a lot more luck and randomness that happens with it too, in terms of where you drop, how many other people drop there, the loot you get, is it even any decent, versus a more standardized competitive game like Counter-Strike, Valorant. So when I get to see the game that I already know how to play, I already have the strategies and the ways that I play. And then there's a smaller tweak of some of the rule sets alongside of that. I absolutely love it. And it's really something I personally can get way more on board because the experience feels better to me. It doesn't feel like it's super highly competitive. It kind of feels more like a goof. With Mini Royale, for example, those wins don't even count towards your wins if you get one. So who cares? With the stimulus mode, for example, now known as buybacks, especially for solos, it actually feels like a much better way to play the game. To me, this should 100% be the permanent solos mode, and I'm super disappointed that it's been removed. Warzone was initially designed around being a trios. Same thing with Apex Legends, right? And Apex decided to implement the solos into their game. It seemed to be at least relatively well received. I personally absolutely loved it, but they never brought it back. Or maybe they did after I stopped playing it. I'm not sure. But the thing that I had always heard, people overall had a worse experience playing it in solos. They saw less player retention. People got off the game sooner, whatever it was. Clearly, if they didn't bring it back or at least keep it as a mode, that must have been an element of it though, right? Well, I feel like Call of Duty, rather than just giving up on it, is trying to figure out how do we actually make that experience better so that we do have a really solid solos experience. They've already brought it back twice for solos, but I think it's a much better experience overall. When you kill somebody and they don't get into self-res, they just immediately get eliminated. It's far more satisfying, especially with a sniper or killing somebody from range. Even if they come back, then them getting knocked and just self-resing, you don't get that kill. You don't have any chance to try and go get their loot. You can't buy a self-res until that gulag period is over, or the period where you buy yourself back if you have more than 4,500 in your pocket. Because there's no reses in this game, like the regular duos, trios, the way that the game was initially made, right? You can go to the buy station, just buy your friend back. It really adds a lot more people to the mid game. In solos, yeah, there's the gulag, but only half of those people come back, and then there's no other potential for them to come back from other ways. By having it based on money, people will come back 2, 3, even 4 times in a game, especially right off the start. Even if they die immediately, they're going to come right back in, and it fills that mid game up with so much more to do, so many more people to kill, fight, worry about who's around the corner. Yes, I know there's still an issue with camping and solos in general, but because people can come back, I've noticed at least, it seems like people are a little more willing to come out of some of those corners. Of course, part of that is it's part of the solo experience. And I know a lot of people just don't even like that in general. I get it. But that does help people feel at least a little more confident because they know, hey, I'll come back if I do die. There's not even the pressure of winning the gulag there. They implemented that mode for solos first, then they tried it out in trios. Now it's back in solos with its second iteration that I think feels even better than the first because of that self-res change. Now it's gone, and I'm waiting for it to come back. Even when it was in trios, it made for a really interesting dynamic change because you could start the game with a loadout. If all three of your teammates just went there, you could drop all your money. Now you're out of money, so you don't have your self-res anymore, but you get a loadout right off the start. Even when I was doing duos and trios in that mode with Aculite, we would drop near a station to get just a little bit of money immediately, get our loadout. Again, even though we don't have self-res, that's a risk we're making at the early game so we can get our loadout, make some pushes. Very similar to what our normal strategy is, but with this rule set tweak, we got to change it and make it even a little more aggressive. There's also still no pressure there. We're not worried about a rank. We just go in. If we die, we die. Go into another game. It was a little bit more of a rip when you died to a Juggernaut, and there wasn't much you could really do about that, but the Juggernaut mode is insane as well. Taking down the Juggernaut feels fantastic. It's still that same core game, but with a huge twist of this giant beast that's going to destroy you at close range. You got to take down or keep alive, depending on if it's on your team or not, before that final zone hits. But everything else in the game is still consistent. Still know how to play it. Heck, it felt like a lot of those lobbies were even more casual than the regular game. Even the most underwhelming one, in my opinion, was still a ton of fun, limiting the game to just shotties and snipers that you found floor loot for. Most people don't really run shotguns. It's more of a rare case use for the extreme close range, but by forcing everybody to that loadout, you really had to focus on moving cover to cover, closing the distance, double teaming people so you could trade out if your teammate goes down. Honestly, before that mode, I hadn't even really touched the shotgun. So for me, that was the learning experience in, okay, what ranges can I kill people at? How do I actually properly use a shotgun in this game? Because it wasn't viable before, but in this mode, now I have to use it. I unfortunately didn't get to play the realism mode, as I had mentioned before, and that was the one mode that I was really hyping up as well before we even went into it. I believe they took the buy stations out. I would have liked to at least seen that stay in and keep some of those core elements of the game. Just really remove the HUD, made the gameplay experience of you in a gunfight feel more realistic. But I'm hoping they bring that back around for an attempt in the future. Most recently, they added the Mini Royale mode. This is something that was actually introduced in PUBG Mobile with fantastic effect. If you don't know, that is one of the biggest games in the world. And this mode made it for a quick experience where you got to get and experience that mid-game and end-game sooner, especially for new players. Even if you have a skill set and can fight with some people, a lot of times that Battle Royale end-game pressure is what holds people back. The more you can experience it, the more comfortable you'll get in that. Plus, you can more quickly try out some guns, loadouts, strategies that you may not want to implement in your main game just because it goes on for so long. Or you want to throw a quick game in. That's like textbook Call of Duty, right? Like a quick 10-minute game. I feel like this is a good game to implement and try something like this in. The best part is there's about a million directions they can still go with this, although with all these Call of Duty Cold War teasers and everything, I'm starting to think they're going to be more focused on what the next Call of Duty is and how they're going to implement Warzone into it, if they are at all, which is a whole nother discussion we can get into. But there's still a lot of modes that I'd love to see implemented in this game, even at a faster pace. What if they had a mode where you had a specialist bonus on? A really big thing, especially for going into these public games, is snowballing your money together so you can get constant UAVs rolling. What if you got enough kills that you got more perks unlocked? You got all the perks unlocked, and it became even more about snowballing a game. How about on Mini Royale, or even a regular game, spawning with your loadout, similar to how Plunder works? Heck, if you're even talking about competitive, I feel like this might be a better way to do it, because it does eliminate a lot of that early game variability, even if they go down that route. Call of Duty has also been very big into Infected over the years, having some type of zombie mode. Fortnite actually implemented AI zombies into their game. PUBG came out with a zombie type mode, but that was more a team of survivors than a team of zombies that you had to wipe out. But I'm sure they can come up with something unique and fun that we could integrate into it. I also think, similar to how I was talking about with the realism mode, but kept the buy stations in. Being able to buy UAV, armor plates, reses for your team, gulag, all those are incredibly important to keeping that main functionality of the game. And heck, I guess loadouts are too, but it'd be fun to try at least without that. I know I really enjoyed that experience when I played the sniper shotty mode. They've also been changing up some of the player sizes. 2, 3, 4 solos, of course, but We saw a teaser in the trailer. People speculated maybe it's going to be a team of 5 because there's 5 people in a helicopter, maybe even 6. It looked like there were 6 in a helicopter at one point. I'm down. Heck, why don't even we go big? 10-man teams. This is something we did in PUBG quite often, and it was some of the most fun that I had in the game. It got a little hectic, but it became crazy to play because then there's only 10 teams of 10, and you really wanted to revive, keep your team alive, because if you had numbers at that end game, you went in with a massive advantage, but it was super hard to do it. I think it'd be really cool as well, even for the main mode of the game, but maybe started in a limited time mode, is that what if you had enough money, you could straight up win the game. If you guys played Hyperscape at all, that's a game where there's a very long time to kill, and because of that, games could probably last for an extremely long time. They implemented a crown that you could pick up, and if you kept it for 1 minute, you would straight win the game. What if you got enough money to where it put a bounty on your head, similar to how plunder works, right? And if you kept the money for long enough, you ended the game and won it, forcing everybody to just start flying on you. Or if that's too extreme, having it so if you got enough money, there was some type of kill streak or something you could implement. That's a general change that I think would be really cool, which I want to talk about in my next commentary about things that I think need to change or be improved about the game kind of at a higher level. And those are my 2 questions for you. 1, where would you like to see some of the custom games to go? Are some of the ideas that I listed out fun? Do you have any other ideas? And 2, what do you think needs to be changed about Call of Duty at a higher level to keep it going for a longer term, specifically for Warzone here, especially coming into Call of Duty Cold War, which is about to be revealed? Better yet, if you want to come talk about these things live with me, come check out my stream Monday to Friday. Run through some ideas. Might even see some of it in that next commentary. If you enjoyed this one, though, give it a like. These take me a little longer to put together, but I enjoy the opportunity to be able to talk with you guys and read through the comments and get some more of my thoughts out there and hear your guys' thoughts as well. Took me a little longer to get another commentary out. As I mentioned, we just had our first baby. It's been the absolute greatest, but I want to kick some more of these up as well. Thanks so much for watching. That's it for this one. It's the Stone Mountain 64. Over and out.